Hello, hello. It's me, Annalisa. Oh, I'm 3 minutes late. Who's here? Who's here? Hello. How are you? I'm later today because we were hoping my middle daughter was going to get to go ice skating. Um, and the skating session is till 3:30 or something, and I didn't want to be rushing back here, and who knew what shape I would be in. But then we didn't end up going because my youngest daughter has had yesterday. She has stomach bugs. She's still kind of off today. And then my middle daughter, who was supposed to go ice skating, said she was feeling kind of nauseous and not right. So I didn't want to have her be like, whoop, and they'd have to be like Zamboni. So that's why we're a little bit later, but I probably could have done it earlier. But since I already said I was doing it later, I just stuck with the later time. Thank you for your patience and your understanding, as always. I am Annalisa, psychic medium and spiritualist reverend. I am doing readings today. As always, I'm not a doctor, a lawyer, a therapist, or a financial advisor. If you need one of those, please seek those. Sorry, I was just going to make a list. Weird. Who's here? Say hello. Oh, hi, Allie. Hi, Autumn. Hi, Rathka. So, yeah, that's my excitement. That's the joy in my life. Little vomit. Not mine, thankfully. But my kids are, on the mend. But there's norovirus going around, and when you have elementary age kids, they get everything. Everything. What was that? I got you. I got you, Rathka. Okay, so let's see. It's everywhere. And you know what? I learned something new hack unlocked, which I didn't know even as a former nurse. Norovirus is not killed by antibacterial soap. I mean, not soap, hand sanitizer. So wash your hands. Lots of wash your hands. 1, 3. Okay, hold on. I'm just going to get the list together. So Allie, you've got 3, Devery 2, Regine 2, Autumn 1. And Rathka. Regarding hand sanitizer not being effective. Yeah. I mean, I guess it just doesn't kill it. You know what I mean? So just besides doing this when you're out in public, make sure you're washing your hands, don't touch your face, all of that stuff. Because norovirus is very contagious. Yay. I don't know if that's exactly what she had, but I know that it's going around. And every kid is out with stuff in my kid's school. So let's write the list down so everybody knows where they stand, what their stats are, where they're at in the lineup. How's everybody doing? Hopefully okay. Autumn and Regine. I got Regine and sorry, Rathka. So I had an aha moment. I don't know if you guys do this. You're always about soap. Yeah, I don't. So when I worked in the hospital, I couldn't use the hospital grade hand sanitizer because it gave me a really bad contact dermatitis. It burned and my skin was just, and my daughter, when she was using, my middle one, when she was using the school's hand sanitizer, so it must have been the same kind of grade hand sanitizer. She couldn't use that because it just completely made her skin raw and it feels really leathery and almost like if you have eczema, you know what eczema is like that. And so she uses her own. And both of my kids are really good. My kids that are in school, my kids that's, Jillian that's home. She's not like that. But she doesn't have to worry as much, but my kids at school, like they're like my two little ones, they're like crazy, insane perfectionists. Like they wash their hands like I learned to wash my hand when I was a nurse. So my hormones are off because PMS. I've been emotional and anxious. It's not easy having a lady body. Man, listen, you know what else they don't teach us about having a lady body is, first of all, they don't study lady bodies a lot, right? So it wasn't until the 90s that they figured out that women's heart attack symptoms were completely different than men's. Like the 90s, which is crazy. So I don't know what part of your hormones are off, but I will tell you, it took me forever. I didn't even learn in nursing school how fiber is connected to hormones. Like if we did, it was just absolutely glossed over. It was not like a huge thing. And even when I worked, when I first got out of school, I was in postpartum, antepartum, GYN surgical. Didn't talk about it. So fiber helps. So it keeps your intestines healthy, and that's what we're always taught, but it helps you actually clear extra hormones from your body, estrogen and stuff like that. So it's really important to make sure you get enough fiber. So if you think you're not eating enough, you can get a supplement, or I just make sure I buy these breads that are really high in fiber. Plus it also helps balance out your carbs and it keeps your insulin levels less from doing these big peaks and troughs to a more even keel. That fiber, fat, and protein are all really important. I've just learned all of these things recently, which is crazy. So it's always good to keep listening, keep learning, keep looking for new information. No shame in saying you didn't know something. It's always good to learn something new. Yeah. All right. I thought I was going to tell you something, but now I forgot, so it doesn't matter. It wasn't important. If it's important, I'll remember it and it'll come back to my brain. Also, the thing that they don't talk about with women's bodies, it's really important. Like the heavy cardio is actually really not good for you. Oh, and you burn. Oh, I learned this recently, and I was like, that's fascinating, because I bought this book. I think it's like this. I don't know if it's called The Science of Fat or whatever. But it's really interesting, and it talks about how, so when women work out, you can burn up to 400 calories, no issue. But once you start kind of going above that, then your body kicks into this thing where you actually get an increased appetite. So your body doesn't let you, so you'll go into binge eating because you get just really, really hungry. Men don't get that. So that's a big part of why it's also easier for them to lose weight. And it's when you work out really, really hard, it's actually stress inducing. So that can actually elevate your cortisol levels. There's all these really, really fascinating things that aren't taught in the mainstream. And then when you also have most of the research is done on men, because female hormones make data messy. They've even had histories of where you hear about stuff where they'll talk about how they remove the data from the female rats when they do studies because it just makes the data messy, and they want clean data for presenting things. So 50% or 51%, I can't remember, of the population is women, and we are being missed because it's just messy. It's just difficult. Yeah, so fat's fascinating because it's it's an organ. And so they're looking at it I don't know that it's technically considered an organ, but adipose tissue. Anyway, I have to read more about it. It's fascinating. I'll share as I learn. But when I learned that, I was like, oh, that's really so you really don't want to work hard. You don't want to work crazy hard. It's just movement is really good. Not crazy hard cardio where you're actually adding stress to your body, because then you have the cortisol issue. And then when you have elevated cortisol, it's really hard for your insulin to absorb. You can end up into insulin resistance, blah, 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 blah. So women are better doing weight-bearing exercises. So doing lifting, but don't do the HIIT stuff, which I just found out. And I was like, well, fuck. No wonder when I was doing that really hard workout stuff, I was always exhausted. and couldn't figure out why. I was like, but you're not supposed to be exhausted once you've been working out. Well, it was like my hormones just got way out of whack because my cortisol level from stressors just in general daily life, plus then doing that, physical stressors. So yeah, so I do lifting and walking. That's my health spiel today. How was everybody? Let's where's my list? Oh, I don't have it. Okay, hold on just a moment. Corporate accounts. Just a moment. You know that movie Office Space? She answers the phone. Corporate accounts. Just a moment. Okay. Allie, what's your question, dearie? Throw one at me. When will I interact with my future partner and where? Oh my God, girl. We might have to I don't know, man. Okay. I know you're obsessed with it. So here, I'm going to tell you this from a manifesting standpoint. Your obsession with the how, the when, the where, why isn't it here? Why isn't it here? Is you're still focusing on it not being here. So it sort of keeps everything at bay. I get it. Cause again, I've always said this, I've been there. And I think what happened was when I finally was before I ever even came to New York, I got this reading and the woman was like, it's going to be an ST name, blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't say anything. And I was like, oh, okay. And, maybe it's this one person. It wasn't that one person. And that's not why I came up here. But I got here and it was like, oh my God, I dated some really awful. And through dating apps, I did Match and did I do anything else? I think I just did Match. One where the guy was like, oh, men just need sex all the time. And I was like, I honestly think he was closeted. That's all I could pick up. Or I was like, why are you so obsessed with this? What's wrong with you? That's not normal. Yeah, some really awful dates. And I dated some really awful people. And it was like, when's it going to happen? 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 And my grandmother would pop up and she would just be like, oh, just enjoy the journey. I'm like, motherfucker. Sorry. I'd be like, Grandma. So point being, it was a lot of that. And then finally, I was about to leave. I was going to do one more. So I went home for 45 days because I had to take off for tax purposes and all that stuff. I stayed at my mom's for 45 days and came back up here. I was going to do one more assignment. And I was like, all right. Cause then I quit doing the apps for a while. Cause I was like, this stuff's for the birds, maybe, whatever. And it was sort of if I'm supposed to meet somebody, whatever, just make it happen. Put it in front of me. I'm so over this. It was I just let it go. And it was right there. When I was finally not so attached to it. And I had a dream that I was going to meet, that this doctor that I worked with introduced me to two nice Jewish men. And what's funny is my husband's Jewish. And I went on a couple dates with this guy who's Jewish before him. And then I met my husband. So it was interesting. I feel like I had to tell you that. It's sort of just try and enjoy it. And the other thing is I know what I was going to tell you. Okay. It's hard. So I'm not denying that. I am not saying I'm not judging you. I'm not saying what's wrong with you. What I'm telling you is it's hard. I think I just got exhausted finally, where I was I can't anymore. I can't I can't put any more effort into this because I'm exhausted. And it's sort of when you finally just go, whatever, this is what I want. If it's going to happen, just make it happen whenever. Cause I can't anymore with you, universe. This is what I'm desiring. And that's sort of when it happens is when you're finally just I don't know, Rothka, can you speak to that? Is that sort of how it happened for you? Cause I know you have a partner, or you're married. Okay. I feel I had to say that because what's funny is even when I had all the readings, so I never asked the when or the how. I was like, always like, who is it? So God bless her that she got an ST name because she was right about that. Okay, so let's look at this, Allie. And then I'm going to tell you one other story because I just forgot it again, but I know that I'm supposed to tell it because it came up again. Oh, I know what it is. Okay. Okay, let me ask your question exactly. Oh, I can. I will say that when I was leaning toward thinking something should happen, I would let red or orange flags go. So I actually stopped asking about partners in readings because I knew that my prosperity was to, my propensity was to overlook things. Instead, I made a spreadsheet. I'm laughing because I can see you doing that. I absolutely love and adore you. Red, green flags I was looking for. I love that idea. Literally check the boxes on the spreadsheet. So see, she did a spreadsheet. Some people do lists. The thing I think about manifesting really is working within your brain set, like to find the hack. Hello, who's there? What's wrong?
What?
Is Daddy here?
No.
Yeah. Come here. Do you need Huggy? Yeah. It's just me today. This is me, and then yeah. Yep. Give you Huggy. I want you to lay on the couch with a heating pad, okay? Daddy will set it up for you.
Daddy's not here.
Oh, he left? Well, the heating pad is up there. You just hit the button 1, 2 times. 1, 2. So the light is in the middle. It's just 1, 2.
So, 1, 2.
Mm-hmm.
And if there was 1, 2, 3.
Then it'd get really hot.
What?
You can, yeah, it'll get really hot.
And burn yourself?
Well, it won't burn you, but it'll be too hot, and you'll be like, ugh, I'm dying of heat. Mm-hmm.
Why are those candles just staying there?
Because I need to put them away.
Why have they never used them?
Huh?
Why have they never used them?
Oh, I've used them.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. I do little witchy workings with them.
What do you mean?
Like I said, you know how we do the intentions at night and we say the I ams at night?
Yeah.
It's just another way of setting intentions.
Oh. Like,
You're itchy? Okay, can I finish these readings, please?
So,
People have paid me for them.
So like you helping people and writing down the number, you can read the notebooks.
Mm-hmm. Something like that, yeah.
What does it do?
Just a different way of doing them.
What does it do?
Just sends the energy out into the universe.
What do you mean the universe?
Like God.
Oh, to God?
Mm-hmm.
Of what?
The God of everything.
I don't know what that means.
Just like the big energy that takes care of us all.
Like
that we're all a part of. Mm-hmm. Of course it's good. Okay. You want to take that upstairs for a little bit? You can. Okay.
Mom,
what's up?
Do I need to write 2 favorite crystals?
What are your 2 favorites?
Well, these 2.
Oh, those are good ones. This one is agate, lace agate, I think. And this one, I don't remember the name of it. Anyone know the name of this one? Little blue, clear one?
Yes. And then
this is lace agate. Okay, can you let me do these readings? Please, 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 please. Okay. Thanks, Bookaboo. I love you. I'm not kissing on the lips because I don't want to feel like you do.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Oh, no,
Okay.
no. Oh, but no.
Mimi's really like that.
Oh, I like that too. Look at
Hey.
You can't see it's a butterfly shape. Okay. Can you go upstairs, please? Thank you so much. I know, but the longer you stay down here, the longer it takes me, and these people are waiting ever so patiently. Okay. All right. Go, please, and thank you. I love you very much. Remember, how many times do you push the button?
2.
Thank you so much. Need another huggy. Oh, you are such a ham. I love you. Okay, go on.
Can I give you a kiss on my nose?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Bye.
Okay, go.
I love you.
Would you go on? All right. If people randomly came on here, they'd be like, what in the hell am I watching? Okay, thank you for your patience. Okay, if you make one on your Google or whatever, Apple, if you have that, you can't lose it. You save it. It was important for me to think about previous relationships and make the green red list based on that. That is important. And I think, so it's like something I had is I was feeling really stuck lately. Like for a while, I've been stuck where I'm like trying to find the motivation to do more videos on TikTok and share more information and just kind of put myself out there more. And I was like, I'm blocked and I don't know how, I don't understand. And finally I was like the awareness of like, what do you do when you're feeling like stuck? And you like, what have I done in the past? And it was sort of like, just ask them to show you and guide you. So like with needing someone, it was like, all right, well, show me because I'm clearly doing something wrong. I'm trying to control it too much. So I was like, show me how I'm blocked in this area, like my solar plexus and my root and my sacral chakra. This woman came up on my thing, and I don't necessarily believe in everything she does, but she teaches a lot of really great stuff on my FYP in TikTok about chakras being blocked and like what they're related to and how it shows up. And I was like, that makes sense that would be blocked. Okay, so show me how to clear it. Show me what's going on or why it's blocked. So a lot of that is about belief systems, right? And it's around like worthiness and value and like, am I valuable enough to show up and be seen? And do I have anything valuable enough to share? And do people really care and want to hear about it? And like, there's other people sharing all of this. It's all layered. And all of a sudden I was like sitting there, and that's like maybe like 5 days ago or so, I just started throwing it out there. Like kind of just like, let me know. And I never insist that it happens right away. And I never have any plan of how it's going to happen. That the information's going to come through. And they kind of started showing me a replay of events in my life of like, well, it happened here. You're not feeling worthy and valuable because of events like X, Y, and Z. A lot of it's around my family. And then like kind of showing me how it layered through my lifetime. And it wasn't ever like anybody going, you're not worthy or valuable, or we can't stand you. It was more along the lines of like, when you give a gift and you give it genuinely from the heart, and it may seem like a silly gift, but it's like a really practical, I'm a practical gift giver. I sometimes give like not practical things, but they're usually useful. And just getting like completely torn apart and made fun of for it for years. And then like this is like a gift I gave to my mom, and then like made fun of it by her, by my sisters, whatever. And then at a point, my mom was like, actually, I still to this day, like she keeps replenishing that because it's like, she's like, it's actually something I needed. And so I got made fun of for it for years. So then you feel terrible. And then even when I got nicer gifts, because I wasn't in college anymore and I could afford nicer gifts, again, it was like, this, like by certain people in the family. So it's like, no matter how you do it, I was like, felt like, right. And not to be like, blur me, whatever. Like I'm just showing you examples of how that stuff shows up for you, that it's not necessarily someone saying you're not valuable, you're not worthy, or you're a total piece of crap. It's in certain areas like that in your subconscious, it gets programmed in. So as you're looking for the list, right, look at those belief systems that might be hidden there that you have about yourself, about value and worth. When you start working on that, then you can also look at your past relationships and go, how did it show up in those relationships? How did I miss it? Or did I see it, but I ignored it? So then you see like, oh, somebody who's respectful, somebody who's, open and honest communication, somebody who has, because maybe that hasn't been something that's happened for you. So now I'm going to answer your question because this really hasn't. Hi, Joelle. Sure, you can. I think I get that a lot of that stuff because I really look at, now that I understand like the law of assumption and what our belief systems create our reality, and how do you end up accepting less than from people, accepting less than from friendships, accepting less than, like mediocrity. When you're open to really seeing it, they'll start showing you. And it's not I didn't have like a big cry fest. I was like, oh, wow. Like it was more of an awareness of like, I got it now. Like that makes sense. And then you can see why, if that was my belief system around myself, that's why I would accept relationships that are less than, or that's why I would sort of keep them at bay, right? Or I might choose somebody who lives halfway across the world and isn't fully available, or choose somebody who's in another relationship who's not fully available to show up, because this is how it's showing. Like, this is my belief system here. Now I've totally skyrocketed away from finding your answer. Let's look for your answer. His birth year might be 1983. Because I just got that. Like, I'm not getting, I know, I just was like, I asked the question, where did she first meet him? But unless you met him in school. But this is weird and I don't understand. It's like, because I said, well, where does she first, like, when does this happen, or what's around the meeting? And I saw, this is, I kid you not. So this is weird, but it might make sense at some point. I hate when I get readings like this for myself, where it's like, oh, and it's like some obscure thing. But it might be some kind of like techie and tech like showcase, or like it feels kind of like STEMmy, the science, technology, like, and engineering and math or something like that. Because I see somebody so dumb wearing like a shark fin on their back. Like, I feel like I've created some kind of little fun thing, but it feels like it's like more like fun inventions. Like maybe there's some kind of, I understand yes, 1983. That's what I heard was 1983. So their birth year might be 1983. That's why I said that. I think you said you were 30 at one point, right? I know their birth year might be 1983. You're 89. Okay. So their birth year might be 1983. And I could go, oh, that you just met in a past life, but I don't think that that's it. I think their birth year is 1983. So I don't know what this is, of why I see more like it feels like almost like a science fair, but it's not a science like what traditional school science fair. It's like I wouldn't put it as you met this person already. It might be something that like happens. Maybe it's like a fun work event thing. I don't know exactly. Or maybe you go to Comic-Con and it's some guy wearing like it reminded me of something where I'm making the reference because I can't think of the movie, but I know a guy who was, I think it's called Spy Kids. I was gonna say Megan Trainor's husband. I think he was in Spy Kids where it's like they had those like kind of cheesy little costumes on. They became sharks. It reminded me of that. So maybe it's some kind of like little Comic-Con event. Yes, it's in the future, but 1983 might be his birth year. Listen, apparently nerds are the best guys. So just saying. Okay, what are your other questions? Expectations and snap judgments that my guide said I would experience in the relationship. Um, I don't think it's necessarily like that, but I'm just saying like when we have ideas about the way somebody is supposed to behave, like it has to be this way or they don't like me, like you can have expectations that somebody's respectful to you, but to decide that they have to respond to me in an amount of time and this and that, and it has to be, and they have to respond in XYZ way, it's not you being demanding. It's, I'm asking them like, it feels more related to attachment styles. I heard immediately yes when I read that. Will I meet him this year? But listen, I always feel like, oh, especially when you've been asking and asking and asking. I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes I get to the point where I'm like, I can't do timing anymore. Like the first thing I read when I read that question was yes. Here's the other thing. It was like when you expect that they act that way and you're like, well, everybody does this. Why don't you do it? Maybe he didn't know that it was a thing. Like, so expecting something before you've had an open conversation about it and saying like, these are sort of my expectations in a relationship. This is how I expect to be treated. But if you just have the expectations without the conversation, it becomes an unfair game. It's unwinnable for that person. If you expect him to read your mind and he doesn't, it's unwinnable. He'll never be able to win. So if you expect like, well, shouldn't he just know that he should do this when I'm like this? No. That's an unfair expectation. You never know how somebody grows up or what there's regional manners that are normal and that aren't normal for some people. I mean, I don't know. Different families have different interactions and different ways of being. But to assume that everybody should behave the way you think that they should is not fair. I think it's a reasonable expectation that somebody's respectful to you, that they are, he may not be somebody who's forthcoming with communication. You may have to ask him about it. Or he may be somebody who's more introspective and takes time to come to the conversation. Whereas maybe you're used to being like rapid fire. Here are my emotions. Here's what's up. Well, he should be like this too. Like those kind of expectations. That doesn't make you demanding. I think it's wisdom and time and interaction and willingness to grow on your own offers you an opportunity to approach relationships and people differently. I'm definitely much different now than I was when I first married my husband. I'm definitely much different now than I was when I was 27, 23. I mean, at the core, I'm still like funny, whatever, but I'm also like my expectations and view of life are completely different. I look at the world different because I think there's a lot of belief systems set in place that put pressures and unfair expectations on women, and our roles and where we're supposed to fit in society and how you're fulfilled if you're married and you have children. I love my children, so I'm not saying I regret that at all, but like the ideas of what fulfills you and what makes you a whole and complete person, that maybe you're not valuable if you don't have these things. I don't know. But I don't think it's like, oh, you're a demanding bee if you have these expectations. It's just have expectations of being respected, have expectations of having, it doesn't have to be perfect communication, but a willingness to communicate and a willingness to, respond in a non-defensive way, right? You want to have somebody like that. I didn't mean for you to be confused. I don't remember saying that. Unfortunately, a lot of this stuff goes for me. Sometimes I remember giving some predictions. I'm like, oh, where was that? And I cannot find them. And I don't clarify any of this stuff on here the way I should. Anyway, so what is your last question? I wish I had my other pencil. Okay, so Devery, if you want to go, or Regine. Do you know when I will find a job in Georgia and let go of my current job? I immediately heard 2 weeks, but there's something about 2 months as well. So I don't know if it's like it comes up on your radar in 2 weeks and you start in 2 months. So there might be like a little 6-week thing. Or if it comes up on your radar and you start working through it, and that's when you find the new job in 2 weeks, but then you let go of the other one in 2 months. It's something around that. It feels pretty quick. It doesn't feel like it's a struggle. I don't know if it's like the job of your dreams, but I feel like it's enough to tide you over for a while. I feel like you're still going to be doing something, like it feels like 2 things going on at once. Wait, she got engaged for the 3rd time? Woo. I mean, Okay, so let's break that down about jealousy. What I heard this really amazing thing, and I was like, that's so true. When we get jealous of somebody else, it's because we don't believe we deserve it for ourselves or are able to have it for ourselves, right? That's where jealousy comes from. And it's possible to have both feelings at once, to be jealous and be happy for somebody else. Those feelings can coexist at the same time. Too many times we think we can only be this or that, but really the truth is we're complex beings and we can be this and that, right? If you believe that that's the state that it's not going to work in, then that's the state it's not going to work in. I believe that. I understand that feeling because when I lived in Texas, I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to meet anybody in this state. Like I just didn't feel an alignment with it energetically, like that whoever I was going to marry was definitely not going to be from the South, which is funny because my grandmother was like, she wanted to be married some Catholic Southerner. And then when I said like, well, I met somebody, she's like, well, is he Catholic? I was like, no. Was he Christian? I was like, no. She's like, oh, and he's a Yankee. So yeah, some underlying weirdness there, right? My grandmother was redheaded. Her maiden name was Fitzgerald, which is also kind of funny because when she was dying, my grandma lived to kind of my grandfather, like they did not. I mean, my mom's family was. My grandfather was an interesting character who owned bars and some kind of boat shop at a point, and also worked for some organized gentlemen, we'll say. He was a bookie. My grandmother, apparently, before I knew her, when my mom was a kid, was not a saint. So when she was dying, I remember how she sounded scared, and I was always really open that like I didn't really, especially at that point, I wasn't really into like that belief system, and I was kind of pursuing the whole psychic stuff, and I was like, I said God loves everybody. And that's a hard pill to swallow, by the way, when you know there's really bad people out there. And I said, and you can cross into the light and you will be forgiven for everything. Because I think there's a lot of stuff that she didn't share with people, and she carried a lot of shame around things that she did in order to survive because she grew up in and out of orphanages and the Depression. So, and she was like, really? You really? I was like, I absolutely believe that. And it was like you could feel the energy relax. And then I was told that within a half hour of our conversation, she kind of slipped off into a coma because I wasn't around for her passing, and I did not go to her funeral, not because I didn't love her, because I didn't think I was going to have a job in 2 weeks or a place to live in 2 weeks. And I was kind of like, I can't really spend a couple $1,000s on a plane ticket and renting a car and a hotel, because my uncle was living at her house at the time, and I did not like him. So I did not want to stay at her house, which is probably better now that I know, like, he was an alcoholic and just a mess. And so anyway, TMI. So, okay. So I do feel like you'll get something now as far as the partner. I don't know if this is the one, but I'm getting pointed around September being important. Like the important thing about, I think when I was dating my husband, I'll say this because it was always like, is this the one? Is this the one? Is this the one? Is this the one? Like I sort of always went into it. And at a point, my sister said this to me, and she's not a great relationship person, definitely wasn't great, like not somebody to look up to, but she said something, and I think it was really important to my moving through a relationship, was like, stop worrying about if it's the one and just try to have fun and enjoy the time. And it sort of takes the pressure off. Like, just try and enjoy it for what it is. And if it's not the one, that's okay, but enjoy and learn from it through the process. Enjoy the journey. There's so much pressure for, is this the destination? I honestly feel like you're going to be in Georgia. That's okay. I know it's like, oh, well, they're all frogs. I'm telling you, I went on so many first dates and it didn't go anywhere else. Or just talking to people and it didn't go anywhere else. I wish I had known that it's really important. Your self-concept is everything, and just really liking yourself and enjoying your time and like filling your time with things that bring you joy. Radhika says, yes, regarding pressure and especially trying not to be shoehorn the wrong person in. So many frogs. After an abusive relationship, I was like, better no relationship than shoehorning in a frog. That is a million. I raised that one up. I don't know what this was. High five. I don't know what it is. But yeah, because I think too many times, and that goes with like friendships, that goes with just people you want to work with, that you think, I want to work with them because they're X, Y, and Z here. And you're trying to make it fit. And the universe is going, that's not a fit. It doesn't work. I don't want to keep doing that. I just want to know when that one will come. So something around September feels fitting. I don't feel like you're going to be outside of Georgia. I got to be honest about that. At this point, it seems like I won't ever find anyone. I tried everything. So stop trying. Do what I said to do, what I did, where it's like, all right, universe, this is what I want. I'm exhausted from trying. Point me in the gosh darn direction. Like, remove the resistance of like feeling like I have to make it fit. I have to make it. And I'm saying this from a place of like, I've been there. I do it all the time in different ways. I have this resistance of like, but I'm supposed to do social media like this. And then I finally was like, or I have to do it every day. And the minute I was like, oh, I get to do it every day, instead of being, I have to be that way. Like, if I have to do this in order to build my bills and this, and it like puts this weird pressure on it, instead of like, oh, I get to do this. It's not any different. I'm still doing the work, but somehow it like changes the energy around it. And I'm not saying you're not doing the self-help stuff. I'm not saying you're not doing the growth work and all of that. It's just like this, I don't know. Same thing with Allie, where it's like, just give up on it having to be and just be like, okay, if this is going to happen, it's going to happen. I was literally like, I'm doing one last contract because I'm kind of done with like, at least, I'll go back. I know people where I'm around. I can go back to Texas Children's Hospital and work there. It's a great facility. I liked working there. I liked my coworkers for the most part. There was a couple people that I did not like very much. And, if I went back to Texas and I had to go back to nursing, I would go back to that hospital. I liked working in the NICU. It was my favorite place to work. If I had to work somewhere. God, I don't want to go back to nursing. I respect a lot of the nurses I worked with. I don't want to go back to it, though. So there's something around September. I don't know if that's the one, though, because they're not showing me that. They're just talking about September. So is that a long way away? It's kind of far away, but it's not really in the grand scheme of things. I mean, this year I will have been married in June for 14 years. And don't know. And also don't accept less than because you feel like maybe this is all I can get because I'm not, maybe this is the only person who will ever love me. So if they are less than, don't ignore the red flags. All right, Regine, are you here, dear? I know sometimes it feels like I'm not answering your questions, but I promise I am. Yes. So the first question I asked was, what does Regine need to know in this moment? And I saw like some books falling on the ground, or like, it doesn't feel like it's a true bookshelf. It feels like a wire framed paper basket, or like that you might like a file basket, but it was like almost like a book falling. Make another plug for the spreadsheet method. Absolutely, Radka. Oh, go ahead. Oh, Allie. Okay, what's your last question? And then Regine, does that make sense? Because I'm just looking for because I'm going to ask them like why, but I just feel like this is an event that would have happened, and it feels around work, by the way. So I'm going to put it to you this way: around work. This sounds super shady and I don't mean it to be, but it's like truths being revealed, something being revealed when something gets knocked over that maybe somebody's hoping isn't found out. And it feels around your boss. And this is the weird thing is I feel like, okay, so I saw something like it's not a true like big bookcase, but I see it like on like a white, like if you think of like a little white shelf thing, and I see like a wire basket like that you would file papers in, but I see it kind of going over and like a couple books on the ground and stuff on the ground. And the feeling around it is like something gets like through this event, something is revealed that maybe they thought they had hidden. And it feels around your boss. I don't know that it's like embezzlement or anything like that, but it's like something was hidden that they thought. So it might literally happen that way, or it might be that something comes to light through being at the office that this person thought that they were hiding. And I feel like it's relevant and important. So it feels like I heard a confrontation happens because of this. I don't know if it's you directly or if the information is passed along to the person who does the confronting. And I also feel like it may be an actual physical person who accidentally bumps into it or knocks it over, but it feels like it's spirit intervening. Okay. Allie, what's your third question is, I'm curious about Steven's feelings towards me because he's in my classes and I don't know how to handle my situation with him. He's friendly and playful with me, but I get anxious around him. Thank you. So the first thing I said, well, why does she get anxious around him? And I keep feeling your third eye really open and almost like my ears have bubbles over them. So that's like, to me, the feeling of like my Clara audience is starting to open up, but it's not quite there yet. So then I asked, because I'm like, well, that's not very helpful. So then I asked, is he safe? Right? Because why would you get anxious around somebody? Because I'm going to my logic side of like anxious might mean that you intuitively know he's not safe. And they're like, no, he's safe. He's safe. Yes, you can. You can wait to ask your second question. That's fine, Regine. So I feel like he's safe. So that's not, the anxiety isn't coming from like intuitively knowing he's not a safe person. Okay, so I heard, so she's always worried about how he feels about her, but has she ever sat with the energy of how do you feel about him? Instead of asking, do you measure up to him? Does he measure up to you? Your anxiety comes from a place of being afraid to be seen. And oh my gosh, what if he sees me? What if he sees me? He'll see I'm not enough. Which is a lie, by the way. We tell ourselves that we're not enough. And they go, oh, it's also like, oh, he's kind of flirting with me and friendly with me. Wait till he really gets to know me, then he won't be. You know, when he sees who I really am. And they go, you know, the funny thing is he sees who you really are. That's why he enjoys talking to you and making you laugh. But you're uncomfortable with being seen. Just relax and enjoy it. And if you have to keep lying to yourself, of course he likes me. Of course he thinks I'm awesome. They're telling me like as soon as you enter, like right before you enter the classroom, make it almost like a little fantasy, right? Like this is your pretend world. I feel like our story is just saying hello, hoping all is well. Hi, Andy. Welcome, welcome. We hope you're well too. I'm glad you're crying. I'm just kidding. Release that. Release that. We spend so much time telling ourselves the lies of like how we're not worthy, we're not valuable, and it's reinforced in different ways, and that's how they got there. And we are worthy. We are valuable. We are enough. I'm struggling with one of my kids, my daughter that's homeschooled, because I'm like, well, I know she's capable of doing so much more than she is. Um, and then I worry because I'm like, oh, she feels like, if I'm like, well, could you do more? Or like, she's like, oh, are you proud of me? I'm like, of course I'm proud of you. And then I might say something else like, okay, we can work on this too. And then it's like, it feels like it's not enough for her. Like she's not doing enough. Or I'm not approving enough of her, or maybe she doesn't feel like enough. I don't know. And that's in my head of like always trying to find that balance of making sure she knows she's valuable and worthy. And then I feel like I'm, failing her a little bit. And I finally said to her, are you not doing more schoolwork because you're afraid that once you are doing enough schoolwork that I'll send you back to school? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm not going to send you back. You really don't want to go back. I won't, but we got to do more work. Like, it's okay to do more and know that, it's like sometimes we stop ourselves from doing something because we're afraid of where that's going to lead. So, because some people do that. I don't think it's malicious intentions. You shouldn't feel guilty for somebody else's actions. He's the person with the girlfriend, not you. You weren't doing anything wrong. And somebody flirting doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go anywhere beyond that. Somebody being attracted, like regardless of you being in it, whether you're married or whatever, like you're going to find other people attractive. Sometimes you're going to flirt, but it doesn't mean it's going to go beyond that. Is it unfair? I mean, I think if you do it in front of your partner, absolutely. But I think it's human. I think it's human nature to flirt. I think that if you allow it to go beyond that, that's inappropriate. You're new to this. I mean, listen, I may change my mind tomorrow and be like, nope, no flirting ever. In fact, at a point in my relationship, I would have said no flirting ever. The reality is people are going to have attractions to other people. It doesn't mean that they're trying to pursue them in a full relationship. Don't feel guilty though for his actions. Because you weren't doing anything wrong. I don't know. And also, what is the flirting? Is it really inappropriate flirting, or is it just like being friendly? Some people see being friendly with somebody of the opposite sex as being flirty, telling jokes. Is he like looking up and down and be like, damn girl, you look good? I think that crosses a line. It doesn't mean you're not going to be attracted to somebody else, but letting them know all the time is not okay. And especially not in front of whoever, like if that was his girlfriend was there. Just enjoy it for what it is. Maybe it's just somebody being nice. Maybe it's the universe saying like, hey, there's people out there. Maybe it's not this guy, but see, there's people out there who are attracted to you. Just because you're attracted to somebody doesn't mean move on that attraction. I mean, you look at how many couples joke around about like, well, if I saw that famous person, that's my hall pass. If they were really confronted with it, I doubt they would do it. So he finds you attractive. doesn't make him a bad person to be attracted to other people. Now, if he was like, I have a girlfriend, you want to go on a date? Just remember, the energy you put out there comes back to you. Okay. Regine, you still have one question. Autumn and Rothka, if you want to go. And Joelle, I've got you for 2. And, you know, there was a point in my life where it's like, oh my God, never, ever, ever. I don't know. You're welcome. Your questions in PayPal. Okay, give me a moment. This makes no sense to me, so I'm throwing out there what I'm hearing. I heard she's having regrets, and he's not really. It wasn't really about him, but it was a reflection of who you need to be. What happened in the dream? Can I ask that? I heard you need to be more open and honest. Not entirely sure. It was romantic nature, but super confused too. Yeah, so I don't feel like it was him, but maybe it just felt like more who you needed to be. So what's funny is I started drawing the shape of an eggplant. And I was like, before I even read that. So it could be, the feeling I get is being more free, being more open, being less judgmental of yourself and less harsh on yourself. And it's not about him, like, oh my God, it's going to happen with him. I don't feel that at all. It feels more symbolic. And I also feel like somehow you were open and honest in that encounter in your dream. And also kind of standing in your power a little bit more, like not a damsel in distress. I don't necessarily feel that, but listen, girl, it just feels like learning to be, more open and honest. So it's like maybe in that encounter in the dream, I'm using this as an example. They're not showing me completely, but it's like maybe you were more forthcoming and direct, and you weren't like, oh, well, I mean, if you like me. Okay, so Rothka, my question is work related. I had some stress to do with interpersonal stuff, and I'm hoping to dynamics settle. Anything that would helpful to know, keep in mind too. People project onto me. So the first thing I felt like immediately was this idea that when you talk about projection, what they're projecting onto you is not that you are not capable, but it's this belief of like the imposter syndrome. So it's this idea of feeling like I need to defer to somebody else to have the clout or whatever. And it's like, lady, look at your degrees. Look at what you've done. Look where you have worked. Look at all that you have fought past. You are light years away from where other people are. You just aren't giving yourself the credit for it yet. You aren't taking that power in and saying, like, no, this is where I've been. I still do it. I used to do it a lot, and I'd be like, oh, well, but I don't have. And then it was like, I would see people who were only doing readings and they do tarot, and it's like kind of sloppy tarot for like a month or two, and they're charging more than I am. I'm like, what the hell gives them the right to do that? And it's like, well, they do. They decided their worth and their value, and they're willing to stand on that hill. And the only thing that's stopping me from doing that is me. And I have these certifications, and I have this behind me, and I have not only like these things, I have life experience and just on the job work, right? I've done the readings for 14 years now, 15, what year is it? 15 years now. It's not about throwing your weight around. It's about standing in your authority. Well, what gives you the authority to, well, because I have the degrees, because I have the research, because I have the knowledge, because I do, and I have the experience. And okay, I'm going to put it in this way. No man in the work world goes, I don't want to be sound arrogant. They're like, I fucking know the work. That's why. Because I've done the work. Here's my degrees. This shows you that I am competent and capable. That's why. And not to say like you want to be like men, right? But at the same time, like unapologetically show up as yourself and stop worrying about if it's going to offend somebody. You're not an offensive person, but like I have the knowledge and the wisdom. Stand in that power. And once you do, like when I do these readings and people are like, well, but what if, and I'm like, look, I can't. And it took me listen to how many, you're the one who told me this. Don't ever apologize for reading. Cause remember I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. And you're like, what if that was the best damn reading they ever had? And you just apologized that it wasn't enough because of your own insecurities, right? Show up, stand in your power. That is all you have to do. Them reflecting to you is just your own insecurities about not feeling like you're enough. Like, because you don't have that, like, oh, what if, like, you still have like a little bit of imposter syndrome, and that's okay. But I'm telling you, you have the authority to be where you're at. You have the authority and the experience, and it's not just about degrees. You have the life experience to be where you are at. And you can stand your ground without being an asshole. And if standing your ground makes you an asshole, then so what? I don't think any man has ever said like, oh, what if they think I'm an asshole? Like, because I decided to like set the rule of how I want my company to be run and how I want people to show up. No man ever thought that way. They're just like, no, this is my company. Like it or leave it. This is how I run it. And if they were asking like, well, should I show up that way? They're probably asking a consultant who's helping them trying to like run their business, or a coaching person. They're not asking their employees for permission or the people they're contracting with for permission. Don't ask people for permission to run your own company and your business and to show up. The other thing is like, well, I guess I looked at it as like, well, she's like, first of all, you're never going to not be friendly because that's just not you. You're never going to not be respectful because that's just not you. But it's okay to be like, here's where it is. Okay. but you're still allowed to run your company the way you run your company. Like, yes, we collaborate together, but you know what? I've been doing this now for a little bit, and this really works better. I've seen this work better, and I really think that we should do that. Or let's try this.